Hey Crafty Mavens, I am so excited to be up with my first Crafty Maven Getaway video for Art Party Friday. I'm just such, and I'm just so honored to be part of this team and to be one of the Crafty Mavens this go around, and I hope you all like what I share with the group. So for this Art Party Friday kind of mixed media idea, I am doing a watercolor background. Now, this watercolor background is actually what came out of the inspiration piece for me this time. And the inspiration piece doesn't look like anything like the project that I make, but what I got off the inspiration piece was the color red, because there were lots of red items in that inspiration piece, as well as there were a couple of like sunsets that had a very watercolory look to them, or ombre, or whatever you want to think about it. So this piece is actually going to become a mat for my photo, like a large mat, it's sort of like a page within a page, and this is that big arty piece of that's going to go on the page. All I'm doing here is I wet down all the reds and yellows in this cheap watercolor set that I have from Michaels, and I'm just kind of splooshing them across the page in sort of a L shape or a stripe, and kind of blending them as I go. I'm not terribly concerned about how this looks because I am going to do something over the top of this. So this project took forever, like days forever, because of drying time and painting and drying and painting and drying and die cutting and just doing all kinds of things. So I should also mention that this project is sort of a byproduct of another project, or part of it is. I make calendars as Christmas gifts for people, and what I decided was that I was die cutting some shapes, and I'm going to show you those shapes at one point here later. But I'm going to wet this down with my little spray bottle too, and clean up some of it and do some things. So what I decided was, when I made those die cut shapes, and I make 8 of these calendars each year, so I decided when I made them, number one, I would make an extra to use on a layout, to scrapbook an actual layout of the same event. And number two, I decided that I would use the negative space from some of those die cuts actually to do this art project with. So you're going to see that in the next segment of this video, and see what I do with that. So here I'm just finishing the background piece, finishing that watercolor, kind of blending the color in a little bit more, just a little bit. Again, I'm going to spray over the top of this, so it's not going to be terribly important if it's super well blended or exactly how it looks. You're also going to see me make several big messes. That's the first one. And what that should teach you is use a craft mat. I don't have a craft mat. I have one on order. It actually should be here tomorrow as I film this video and do this voiceover, which I'm very excited about. But it's not here yet. I don't have one. If I did, I would use it, and hopefully I will. And there you go. But I make a big mess. So the next thing you're going to see is, any second now, here I go. There. So what I have done is showed you that I have the die cut, and I made the die cut out of black cardstock. So what I did is I took that and took the circles as those were cut out, and I used one of the die cut shapes, like that, to figure out where the little pieces went to create that negative space. That's what I'm making as the die cuts that are going to go on the calendars, and one of them's going to go on here. And so I just stuck down all of those little pieces, stuck them back into where they went on the background, so that it looks like that. And then what I'm going to do is take some Heidi Swap Color Shine in Black Velvet, and I'm going to spray it over the top again, so these are like a stencil. Here I have this thing called Quick Stick, I think is what it's called. It's sort of like a pokey tool, or whatever you call that little tool thing. One of the ends has a little bit of adhesive on it, so it's a little sticky. I have a problem with my Heidi Swap Color Shine. The sprayer, I don't usually use the sprayer, I usually sprinkle it on things. So when I actually attempted to use a sprayer, it doesn't do a very good job. So this will cut short after a few sprays. You'll see me cut, like it'll pop back in, and I'll finish the spraying from actually the other side of my table. When I did that, I actually got spray all over my phone, all over the table, all over, I made a huge, huge, huge mess. So there, I tried to poke it with a needle. It didn't really help. Because what I was looking for was that actual, like, mist effect is what I wanted. So there I am on the other side of my table. And now I went to the bathroom, rinsed it all out, and yay, mist. And this actually turns out really gorgeous. So, but you'll see me make a giant mess. And then it's going to cut to the video reveal. So obviously, if you can't tell by the logo, this is about the Hunger Games. And I thought that color scheme with the red and the orange really went with the Hunger Games. The title of my layout actually is Girl on Fire. So here I am back again, and I'm going to do the big reveal. I gave it a full 24 hours to dry, like that, and I'm going to pull it off of there. And found that there was still a little bits of it that were wet, and I made some smudges. It's completely imperfect. I don't care. That's totally fine with me. But what you'll get to see, oh, and the cardstock does weird things because it was, I used a temporary stick adhesive glue thing on the back, so my whole page was actually sticky, which ends up not being very good. If I did it again, I would do it differently, but I'm not doing it again, so I just decided to live with what I had. So in the end, that's a Cricut tool that I'm using there to scrape it up. It looks great, it looks fine for what I wanted, but I would have figured out a better way. So you see me here peeling up these little pieces of paper, and peeling them up, and peeling them up, and the mist, there you saw it on my fingers just a little bit, it's not wet. I mean, it's dried an entire day, but it's, I think, just going to be gooey and gunky no matter what. So, like, that was kind of unfortunate. The background is also sticky, but what I'm doing is just pulling up this paper to the best of my ability at the time, and kind of scraping it away with my Cricut tool. And then what I'm going to do, and I don't know how quickly I'm going to do it, if you're going to see me do it on the video or not. Nope, you're not. I'm going to go over it with a powder tool so that it basically coats it with powder. And then I just wipe off the powder. It loses a little bit of the gloss, but that's fine with me. So that's what it's going to look like. I show you that it's not super clean, but that's okay. For the actual background of the layout, I'm using these watercolor paints. They actually belong to my daughter. They came in a thing she subscribes to called Sketchbox for artists. And so these are hers. They are a metallic watercolor, and they are absolutely beautiful. Even on this black cardstock, they look gorgeous. They're so sparkly and gold, and I use several different shades of gold. All I'm doing is, like, there. I'm going to bring that in. That's what it looks like in the end, which I think looks really good. And I didn't make it big enough. You see me spray them down some more, and I have to do that a couple of times once I figure out where the actual spots need to be. All I'm doing is creating some gold that's going to go behind the big piece and let that live there. So I do this, and basically I use like a silver color at the top, a silvery gold, and then one at the bottom that's a silvery gold, and then brighter golds across down the sides. No particular rhyme or reason, not any, just wherever it felt like. If I had more of that color of paint, I used more. If I had less, I used less. It was just whatever I felt like and whatever worked at the time to get. I wanted a big rectangle around where that big Hunger Games piece is going to be with the watercolor background. So I love these watercolors, and I will find some other reason to steal more of them from her later. You can see up at the top of the screen, there's the die cuts of the Mockingjay symbol, as well as there's the word May, because that's the month of the calendar page is going to be for May. And you can see a part of the piece that's my title. So it is a, I used a gold, like shimmery gold paper to cut those out, and black. And so you'll see those a little bit there. And there's a font that's looks like it's in flames a little bit. Bringing that back in a couple of times just to make sure I have everything where I want it as far as the outline, that it's actually going to be outlined. So, and then of course, once I get this piece painted, it also has to dry. So that may be why I don't do a lot of mixed media, is because I don't have that much patience to do something and let it dry, and do something and let it dry, and do something and let it dry. So, but these watercolors are amazing and gorgeous, if you've not already figured out that I think that. I'm going to show you the box, I think, here in just a minute, because that's about all. I'm almost done if I'm not done. I wanted to use all of it. Like, I want to paint myself with them or something. They're so pretty. I'm not really going to paint myself with them, but they are so pretty. Yeah. Stop fidgeting with the watercolors. There I show you, so you can see some of the shimmer. And there's the box. Ganzai something spectrum, I think is what they're called. So that's kind of what the layout's going to look like, actually, but because I was like, figuring that out, and then realized I wasn't filming. So here I am just with my ATG. That piece of paper is watercolor paper, which is part of the reason it's not the full background, is I don't have watercolor paper that's 12 by 12 or larger, so that's why I didn't do the whole background like that. I decided to make the Mockingjay symbol, the gold and black one, kind of line up with a Mockingjay symbol on that background piece. I just thought it would look neat. I'm going to mount it on foam, so you'll see me like grab all of my scraps of foam. I apologize for being a little bit out of the frame here. I have some good close-ups at the end and a good shot of the full layout. So that is my daughter at the Hunger Games exhibition. It's in Louisville. It's actually there through September if you're close to Louisville at all and be interested in going. It is well worth the money to go. If you're a Hunger Games fan, we absolutely had a fantastic mother-daughter day and just loved that exhibition. So very, very much worth it. But that is her just stating by. They had these big posters, several different sets of them throughout, and this is just one of her with Jennifer Lawrence, the big Jennifer Lawrence poster. So I thought it was cute, and I thought it was a good picture of her and all of that. The other one, the square one down there, is at the entrance to the museum. It's at the Fraser Museum of History. And that's right in the entrance as you walk in. They have that big Mockingjay set up, and I thought it was neat looking, so. But I didn't think to take her picture in front of it or whatever, so it's just a big picture of the Mockingjay. So now I have all my foam on the back, and I did put foam on the little tiny arrow. That's part of what took so long with that. And mounted it there at that top corner of the photo. I think that looks great. I'm going to put the square photo kind of beside, and I fidget with that for a minute. And then I'm just going to put more ATG on the back of that. That's really about it. I just couldn't decide if it needed anything else. You can let me know if you think it does. But there it is. Thank you so much for watching the first video, and have a great day. Bye!